Okay, hey, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we have a cool review for you from the brand Islander Watches. A little bit about this brand. After many years as an online watch dealer via Long Island Watch, the owner, Mark, decided to start having his own models produced. They originally started out really focusing on ready-made Seiko mod style timepieces that were even compatible with existing aftermarket Seiko mod parts, for corresponding models such as bracelets, bezels, and crystals, etc. Now they've kind of ventured off into some more kind of general designs, and I'm really happy about that because this thing looks really awesome. I love this classic field watch style, and there's so many ways to overpay for this. It's really nice to be able to get something here that offers a ton of value and packs so much punch in terms of its specs. You can get this directly from Long Island Watch for $199. Yes, under $200, you're going to get a 39 millimeter field watch with hacking and hand winding Seiko movement, a sapphire crystal, and yeah, that's just, it's what we've been wanting. I'll say even at the 39, it probably wears a little bit truer to its 39 millimeter size as compared to some of the Seiko 5 field watches that are comparable in terms of the timing of this release. And then you're also getting a 20 millimeter lug width, which is great. At 20 millimeters, you can just pretty much fit anything on it, and this strap even comes with quick release spring bars, and it's also a nice quality strap, which I'm excited to kind of point out too. So not just an instant throwaway, but still very versatile if you want to swap it out. So with all that said, let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, get this piece in hand, and take a closer look. All right, guys, so we all love field watches. You don't have to be a Marine Corps veteran like me to find this aesthetic very, very attractive. It has, of course, those key common characteristics you look for in a classic field watch: modest size, Arabic numerals, 12 and 24-hour scale on a black or cream dial. This just really hits, and you're even getting the date functionality, which is great. So it is something that I know a lot of purists would prefer no date, but usability wise, I mean, date modeled watches are always going to sell multiple times more than a no date model. So it looks great. A really awesome choice in terms of the OEM strap that comes on here. You're getting reinforced holes, you're getting this nice supple kind of backing, which is soft. You're getting some padding in there, which isn't as consistent as probably some like expensive aftermarket ones, but definitely not bad compared to a lot of the OEM straps you would get, especially like coming from Seikos. So it's nicely signed. You're getting these quick release spring bars, which is great. And then because you're using a one-piece strap versus, let's say, like a NATO style, a pass-through style ststrap, you're still getting to see that movement, which is great. And yeah, no, it's nothing special in terms of horological significance or complexity, but it's nice to be able to see that and kind of connect with it. And yeah, I mean, especially when you're early in your collecting career, being able to see your automatic movement just goes a long way in terms of adding personal value and your experience and wear with it. So this is the Islander Mitchel Automatic, or the ISL-41. It's just a really well-spec'd and capable everyday field watch at a very affordable price point. It's 39 millimeters in diameter, only 12.5 millimeters thick, including that flat crystal, which sits slightly proud of that bezel there. And it's 48.5 millimeters lug to lug. So really wearable. You can see even the shapes there. Mid case looks nice and thin, and then of course that helps break up some of that thickness because it is still a relatively small watch, right, at the 39 millimeter size. If this was a larger watch, it would probably appear thinner at this thickness, but since it's a little bit smaller, you do have to do some work, and Mark definitely did the work to help thin this out by having things like this nice little undercut here, which adds some separation with that little taper there that kind of goes around and it makes a smaller contact patch with your wrist there. And then of course this nice fixed bezel, which also helps break up some of the kind of side weight visually while you look at it. And then you do get a screw down crown, which is signed. Yes, guys, a screw down crown, 100 meters of water resistance with a screw down crown. I mean, that is just anybody who's doing any type of recreational level water sports, this will absolutely be fine, because you have a screw down crown, so you know that it's going to stay sealed, and none of you are going to go over 100 meters anyway. Typically recreationally, you're thinking 30-40 meters tops. So this is something that you can even thrash around with, and it's still going to be quite secure, which I can absolutely appreciate. Then you get down to this dial. While it is very simple, it has a nice matte dial with that printed index. You're getting the date at 3 o'clock with black numerals over a contrasting white disc. You're getting white painted hands, and then you're getting an unspecified superluminova there. So I don't know if this is C1, C3, or, but it works. I'll tell you, I'm looking forward to sharing. Let me get the little dust off of there. I'm looking forward to sharing the Loom shots and the light transition with you, because for a field watch, this burns really, really nice, which is kind of a common theme for Long Island watches. And I will say, those Islander watches having that potent loom, it just shows again that this is an enthusiast run brand. It's the things that watch geeks like and they pay attention to. That guy who's making it, Mark, he knows what you look for, because he looks for the same thing. So those are the kind of values that he'll put into that often can be overlooked if you were getting something else from more, let's say, of a fashion brand, or a brand that's pushing out really a lot of volume for stuff like this, that'd be comparable in terms of price point. Now, getting into the water resistance, again, you're getting 100 meters of water resistance, which is great. 20 millimeter lugs, which mean it's very, very versatile. It's that two-piece style. Also, it does have this great upper nylon type of fabric, and then the leather liner that feels nice and soft to the touch. You're getting a bit of padding. You're getting this all milled tang buckle. Yes, all milled. There's nothing that's stamped in here. So they went the extra mile from there also. So, and in terms of just the strap that comes out of the box, that's really cool. And then it has a little taper from 18, actually down to 18 millimeters. So it starts at 20, goes down to 18, and it just adds just a touch of, of elegance and refinement there, versus a non-tapering strap. So with that said, let's actually get this piece on wrist and see how it wears. All right, as you can see on my 7 1/4 to 7.5 inch wrist, this wears really beautifully. Very nice and centered on the wrist. The strap looks great. Of course, you get a little bit closer, then you're gonna get some lens distortion. It's gonna appear slightly larger. So what I'm gonna do is now just take a little bit of a zoom the lens in slightly so we can take a closer look while avoiding the distortion. You can see nice and centered on my wrist. That is a little bit on the larger side, but you can see it lays fantastically there. Great curvature on the lugs. Just follow and help everything drape very nicely on the wrist. So while it's not super thin, it definitely doesn't strike me as overly thick. I think it is just right about that right amount there, where you can't really consider it thick, you can't consider it thin. It just seems quite proportional. So I dig that. And, again, I'm really impressed with this OEM strap that it came with out of the box, just because, typically you can't expect super nice straps out of the box. Like, this is something that you might reuse this strap for another watch if you do swap this out, because this is a really nice quality strap. So very cool. And one of the cool features also is that since it has a quick release, so some of you are probably thinking, oh man, bummer, it doesn't have drilled lugs, right? It's going to make it a little bit harder to swap out. But because it does have quick release spring bars, it means that you can easily take off the OEM strap and put on an aftermarket strap. So you will need an extra set of spring bars if you were going to put this, let's say, on an NATO style strap. But if you're not, let's say you take a Haviston strap here, definitely check the channel history for the full review on these great little straps that are really meant to perfectly pair with air and field style of watches. Now, very easily and very quickly, you can let me just get the little notch in there. You can have a little upgrade that fast. Check that out. this watch, again, it dresses up really, really well. I'm not saying you have to put it on this type of kind of military-esque strap, but it just suits it really well. It just stands out. It looks great. These straps aren't super expensive. They're actually a really nice value for the quality, but it just pairs well. And you can put this watch, I think, looks right at home on a more expensive strap, cheaper strap, whatever. It's going to do its job, and I like that. And I think it's one of the occasions where that the Islander logo there, it just suits the dial. It just seems very minimalist. It almost kind of reminds me of like the LL Bean style of field watches, where they're not trying, they're just doing their thing and they do what works. And I think Island Watch really got it right with this one. So you get it on the wrist really quick, so we just get an idea of how versatile this little piece is with its black dial and white font. Check that out. That looks great. I dig it. Let's even get it a little tighter here. Check it out. Very nice, even tighter. It just sits really, really well on the wrist. And again, this dial is just infinitely versatile because it is, a black dialed watch with a very non-offensive Arabic numerals that just work. So with that said, let's actually get this back on the OEM strap and set up some Loom shots, low light transition, and closing thoughts. Okay, let's go ahead and hit the lights here. Yes, check it out, guys. That is solid loom for a little field watch. And field watches don't need to have a lot of loom, and the fact that Mark still went out of his way to make sure that those numerals were loomed, I think is great. You even get the loomed tip on the seconds hand. Very, very nice, and well applied, and I think well designed. But one thing I like to do is work in some low light transition, because you're not always going to be out in the middle of a field enjoying direct sunlight. A lot of times you'll find yourself coming in and out of buildings, walking underneath an overhang, maybe sitting underneath the shade of a tree, or just spending some time in your favorite automobile. So it's really nice to see how these colors, textures, and finishes render like in less than optimal lighting, to even include some harsh lighting here where you would typically be able to expose any type of production defects. But you can see there that the light glides nice and uniformly over that industrial brushing there around the case. And then the strap really plays with the light and holds it in different ways. You see it has a nice kind of sheen to the tight stitch of that nylon, and it just works. And it's look at that, and again, in that mixed lighting, it stays very legible. Even the non-loomed portions, look at that 24-hour scale is still really viewable, which is cool. And I like that, and it just shows that it's a functional piece. It is a nod, of course, to the past, while still having updated specs that make it still competitive with today's market. So for me, guys, closing thoughts on the wrist, really classic field watch feel and wear. I'd say with the touch of additional thickness that is there over its competitors because of this Seiko movement, it is justified thanks to that extra water resistance, and that thankfully backed by that screw down crown. So I don't really mind the little extra thickness. Of course, if you were to lay this next to a manual wind Hamilton khaki, it'd be a lot thinner, but this doesn't feel overly thick. I think, again, it feels more close to just proportional in general. And then in terms of model variants, definitely check their site. I'll leave a link down in the description for, in terms of other options and colorways and layouts and availability. And then in terms of comparable models, I honestly don't think you'll find anything else at this price point that doesn't end up feeling a lot more compromised in terms of clear trade-offs to help justify the rather minimal cost of admission. So even when we get to something like a value leader like Seiko, I mean, again, you're going to get hard legs, you're going to get a single dome, which gives it a little bit more distortion versus this very readable with a flat sapphire with AR coating. So there's going to be a lot of trade-offs. Even though this does have a Seiko movement, if you put it against a Seiko, it has a lot of great specs here, and the finish isn't too different either. Like, it doesn't look vastly cheaper sitting next to a Seiko 5 field watch. So I think that's really great that they're able to offer something that is a lot of fun and still very useful, wearable, and functional at the price point. So for me, bottom line, Mark definitely continues to bring enthusiast targeted watches to the market across an array of different styles and genres, while still keeping both value and quality a constant across the entire Islander lineup. And this is no different. The quality here is very good, especially considering that under $200 pricing, $199. I mean, come on, that is just for this watch. It's a lot. It's a lot of watch for the money. Yeah, and you can even, I think there's even a bracelet option. So yeah, if you really want to take it up a notch and really just go for the true top tier value prop, you can even add a bracelet to it, and I'm sure it'll look great, if not even better than it does on strap. So with that said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like the video, please do a like, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.